Yes. So I'm Scott. I'm currently the CEO and co-founder of a company called Cognition AI. And
ソフトウェアエンジニアの仕事っていうのは実装じゃなくて何を作るべきかっていうのを考えるっていうことにシフトしていくんじゃないかっていうお話ありましたけど、それに達成するまでにあとどれくらいの時間がかかると思いますか？どうも安野貴博です。本日はスペシャルゲストに来ていただきました。簡単にまずは自己紹介をしていただけますか
Sure. Yes. So I'm Scott. I'm currently the CEO and co-founder of a company called Cognition AI. And what we built is Devin, which is the first autonomous software engineer.
はい。というわけで、Devinの生みの親と言ってもいいわけですよね。
I feel like Devin is, we all look to Devin as our guide actually as well on the Devin team, because Devin actually is by far the biggest contributor to the Devin repository too.
はい。ということは、そのDevinの開発にDevinってどういう風に使われてるんですか？その社内での使われ方をすごい気にしてます。
Yeah. So we use Devin for a lot of use cases internally. Devin makes actually several hundred commits every month to production in the Devin repositories. And our most common use case is through Slack, usually. So we have a lot of channels where we talk about different things. We have channels for bug reports, we have channels for crashes, channels for feature requests, channels for front-end issues, or all of these different things. And so now, every time somebody posts something to one of those channels, they always tag Devin as well, and Devin does a first pass. And so sometimes Devin is right, is correct from the beginning. Sometimes it needs a little bit of guidance to get it to be correct. But we find that it's much easier to go and solve all these issues with the help of Devin's first pass. And of course, the nice thing is that Devin is fully asynchronous, so you can have lots of Devins running at the same time. You can do other work while your Devins are running, or things like that.
質問していいですか？デビンがたくさん仕事をしてくれた後に、そのデビンがした仕事を人間がレビューしてマージする、レビュー&マージが難しい。たくさん負担が大きくなってしまうのではないかということを懸念して感じているんですけれども、そこのところってどうやって解決していますか？
Yeah, so the review process, I think Devin is best for tasks that have some verification that you can verify. And so for that reason, a lot of bugs or front-end tasks or small features are very good for that.
そうたくさんのソフトウェアテストをあらかじめ用意してあるという理解でいいでしょうか？
Yeah, so you can prepare tests, but you can also do quick testing manually. And so one way to describe it is, the whole idea with Devin is you help for the 10% at the beginning where you're planning out the task for Devin, and you help for the 10% at the end where you review the code and you make sure it does things correctly. But the 80% in the middle, Devin does it all autonomously.
なるほど。Thank you.
多分コグニションの社内ではデビン使いというかですね、デビンを使うのがめちゃくちゃ上手い人がたくさんいるんじゃないかなと思うんですけど、例えば、いろんなユーザーとも会ってると思うんですけど、この人はものすごいデビンを使うのが上手いなって思ったユーザーいます？
Yes, a lot. I think even in Japan, for example, we've met with a lot of different customers who are really excited about it. Webnol, for example, is one of them. I think they told us that actually 39% of all of their code now is written by Devin.
39%?
Yeah.
なんで Webnol はそんなに多くのことデビンにやらせることができてるんですか？
Yeah, so it does take some real investment, I think, to get to the point where you can understand how to make Devin really, really useful. And also you have to teach Devin the details about your code base in the beginning some as well. But once you have the kind of the right workflows and the right setup, I think they've found that it's much faster for them to do a lot of work with the help of Devin. And similarly, I think that in the US, for example, we have a lot of teams who do even more than 40% of all of their code with Devin. And in some cases, it's engineers who use Devin. In some cases, it's engineering leads. In some cases, product managers. But there are a lot of different workflows that we've seen that have worked really well.
これやっぱりプログラムの言語であるとか、そのプロダクトの性質によってこの最大何%くらいまで使えるのかっていうのは結構変わってくるんですかね。例えばタイプスクリプトとかあるいは Python とかはかなり強いイメージがあるんですけど、弱い言語もあるような気がしていて、そういうフレームワークとか言語による得意不得意っていうのはあるんですか？
Yeah, I think the languages that are more common are generally the ones that Devin is best at because there's more data out there. And so Python and TypeScript are quite common, obviously. And so I think there's a lot of data for Devin for that. But often it actually depends, I think, more on the use case than on the language. And so if it is kind of like small fixes or new features that you can quickly verify, then it's quite good for Devin. Whereas if it's something that requires a lot of context and kind of like high-level decision making, then perhaps you don't want to use Devin.
いいですか？
どうぞ。
多分今後どんどんデビンは進化していってそういうハイレベルなものもできるようになっていくと思うんですけど、そのためにAI がどんな風に強くなるといいと思っているのかお伺いしたいです。推論能力が高まるのか、エージェンティックな能力が高まっていくのか、どんな方向を思い描いているのか聞いてみたいですね。
Yes, yeah. So I think obviously, I think there's still a long way to go. I think the long-term future, I think, is a point where you can truly just talk to your computer and tell your computer what to do. I think if you think about what a software engineer really does, I think the most important part is to decide what to do and how to build it, and then tell the computer what to do, and so on. But obviously, currently, there's also a lot of implementation detail that you have to handle, and I think more and more of that detail will go away over time.
Sorry?
So to answer your question, I think the main two things I think we need to really solve or to make progress on are, one is I think on the capability side, I think there's actually a lot of just real world work that needs to be done. Teaching Devin about like a lot of the details of real world engineering because it's very messy in the real world, obviously. And the second thing I would say is for the product interface, I think there's still a lot to solve. And even now, Devin is in your Slack, but it's also in GitHub, it's in Linear. And I think over time, Devin needs to be able to work with basically all of the same systems that humans use, or to have a very clean way to work alongside humans. And I think there's still a lot that we are discovering with that. And even the new Devin 2.0 with the kind of the in IDE, the cloud IDE interface is already kind of a new version of that.
So do you see like the bottleneck is like more like the interface between like AI and real world, or AI and human, rather than the capability of AI itself?
So I think the raw problem solving of AI is very strong. People have seen a lot of the numbers on math problems or very kind of like programming Olympiad problems, for example. I think the reality is that a lot of our typical work is very high context. If you are solving a bug, for example, then usually what you do is you run the server locally, you try to reproduce the bug yourself, you maybe go and click around, you look at the different files, maybe you read documentation, all of these different things, you test the code. And so a lot of it is creating a good training loop that mirrors the real world complexity of what software engineers do day to day. Yeah, so it is a capabilities problem, but it's more about tool use, like using your tools well, and also like ingesting a lot of context well, I would say, rather than pure, problem solving.
カジュアルクエスチョンいいですか？先ほど長期的な未来に音声でコンピューターに指示する via voice っていう話だったんですけれども、一方で現時点ではキーボードを使っているプログラマー多いかなと思っているんですね。現時点で どの程度の割合の人がボイスで音声でそのDevinに御社の中でDevinに指示をしているのかということと、将来的に本当に音声が 100% になるのか、キーボードがどれくらい残るのかというところの話を聞けると面白いかなと思います。
Yeah, so it's I mean less so voice in particular, and I think more I was just saying that the goal would be able to just kind of express, here is exactly what I want to build, and then have the agent build it for you. It can be through voice or other means too. I mean, maybe it'll be through Neuralink, for example.
先ほどそのソフトウェアエンジニアの仕事っていうのは実装じゃなくて何を作るべきかっていうのを考えるっていうことにシフトしていくんじゃないかっていうお話ありましたけど、それに達成するまでにあとどれくらいの時間がかかると思いますか？
Yeah, I mean, I think that already today, I think an engineer who doesn't use AI is slower already than an engineer who does use AI. I think perhaps by the end of this year, it may be as big a difference as twice as fast with AI, and then soon, in the next few years, it could be 5 or 10 times as fast. And so the skills will change for software engineering, but I think it's, of course, exciting because there's actually much more than 10 times as much software that we could build. And there's always so many ideas of things that we could build or things that we could do. So yeah, so I think the skills in software engineering will change. And so, for example, I think a lot of the details of knowing certain obscure syntax or something will be less important because you will be able to have AI to help you with those things.
じゃあどこにフォーカスするようになっていくんでしょうかね。
Yeah, so on the other hand, I think a lot of the core problem solving and kind of logical reasoning is going to be much more valuable. And I think actually it's always true. It's at the start, like 80 years ago, programming, there was punch cards, and then there was assembly, and there was Pascal and C. And it's already changed many times, programming, but I think still it has always been the case that the most important skill of the programmer is the ability to take a problem and understand this is exactly what the problem is. Here's how I want to build my solution. Here are the details of the solution. Here are the edge cases, and to just be basically the decision maker of what should you build. Yeah, and also, of course, I think it's especially since the tools are getting better so quickly. I think it's very valuable to learn how to use the tools well, and to just spend time understanding them because they will continue to grow and grow. But yeah, for example, I mean, 30 years ago there were less than 1 million software engineers in the whole world, and between 30 years ago and now, actually, a lot of the implementation is already much easier. We have cloud, we have Python, you have TypeScript, and all these things. And in fact, actually, there's now 30 million software engineers. There's much more software. And maybe one way to say it is, since the whole idea of programming is to be able to tell your computer what to do, either verbally or in typing or whatever. But as the computers get more and more powerful, of course, it will still be up to us to decide what to do. And so I think that the most important skill will be kind of this fundamental, we can call it like technical architect work, and then also a little bit like product management work, but really just deciding what to do in very specific detail and how to build things and what is the solution that you want to build.
そうエンジニアというものが今考えられているエンジニアという仕事の枠から出て、もっと広い範囲のことを見たり考えたり作っていくようなことが今のエンジニアにはもっと求められるようになっていくのかなというふうに思うんですけれども、それどうでしょう？
Yeah, I think today already many of these details are owned by the engineers typically, not by any managers or product managers or things like that, because of the very specific details, obviously, of the implementation. The engineers are the ones who are closest to the decisions that get made. And so I think those core engineering decisions and trade-offs, I think those will still be made by humans, and that'll be a lot of the that will be the main way, like the main thing that humans really excel at.
将来にわたっても人間が得意であり続けると思いますか？
I think there's of course a spectrum. The way that I think about it is, I think the way humans have worked with AI has always been AI does kind of the tedious or the repetitive parts, and humans do the kind of complex or high context or decision-making parts, right? And the only thing that's changed is every time there's new developments, we kind of redefine which part is the tedious part and which part is the, right? And we always kind of move this. But you know, I think it's, at the end of the day, humans should be the ones who are deciding what to build, right? So there will always be a part here that is up to humans.
日本のお客さんがすごい増えてきているっていう話聞いたんですけど、日本のマーケットはどうですか？
Yeah, I mean, it's really exciting. It wasn't even available to Japanese. It wasn't even available to Japanese customers until a few months ago, and over the last few months, so we've seen already, you know, over 1,000 different companies using Devin in Japan alone. And so a lot of the reason that I'm here in Tokyo is to get to meet with many of these teams and companies and to learn more about what we can do to make Devin better for.
そこで言うと日本のお客さんの傾向とか特にこういう使われ方が多いなとかそういう学びはありましたか？
Yeah, I would say especially in the last couple of weeks since Devin 2.0, we've seen a lot of folks who have told us that they're using Devin Search and Devin Wiki much more now. And
I love that functions. Yeah.
Good. And certainly there's a lot of specific workflows that we see. And so, you know, one example which I thought was funny is now a lot of teams, we hear from a lot of teams that they onboard their new engineers with Devin Wiki. And so basically Devin is the mentor for the new engineer initially because Devin knows the whole code base. Yeah. Similarly, it's actually also been pretty interesting to hear about a lot of use cases from product managers rather than engineers. And so often people will ask questions or run analytics or make small changes as PMs and just have Devin do that for them.
それで言うと例えばこの AI コーディングの領域っていろんなコンペティターがいますよねと、例えばカーソルであるとか Windows サーフであるとかクラインっていうところあるいは、オートノマス AI で言うとオールハンズ AI とかそういったところがありますけどそういったコンペティターはどう見てますか？
Yeah, so we know actually a lot of these companies because many of them are also in the Bay Area. And what I would say is, right now, you know, there are very few autonomous agents in the market right now. I think a lot of the AI IDEs, for example, are great products, but they're very synchronous, right? And for us, we have always focused on kind of this asynchronous and autonomous experience. And I think, I think, you know, we were working on this experience and focusing on this even a long time before people really talked about agents or people thought agents were possible even, I would say. And I think that now that agents are gaining a lot more traction, I think people are thinking much more about agents, and it's very cool to see, honestly. I think actually I would say that our product experience is actually very complementary with many of these tools. We know a lot of teams who use both Devin and they use the AI IDEs. And for example, we actually have a big partnership with Microsoft who runs GitHub Copilot. Yeah.
その非同期的なアシンクロナイズなAI っていう分野で、長期的にそのコグニション社がどれくらいの優位性を持ち続けられるんだろうなというのを思っていて、一つあるのは例えばそのファンデーションモデルを作っているオープン AI とか、あとはそのクロード、アンソロピックとかですね、そういったところもこういったレイヤーに参入してきうる可能性あるなとも思ってるんですよね。で、コグニション社としてはそういうファンデーションモデルには手を出してない中で、今後も出さないっていうことなのか、それともなんでしょうね、この領域のいろんなプレイヤーがいて他の人たちが染み出してく 来る可能性にどう見ているのか、その中でどういうふうに長期的に勝ち続けられると思っているのかっていうのを聞いてみたいです。やっぱ圧倒的に体験のクオリティが良いと。で、なんでデビン、あるいはコグニション社って誰よりも早くこの質の高い体験をローンチできたんですか？